Hello, everyone. It's Mark from This Is The Music, and welcome back to another episode of the This Is The Music Meets Podcast, the podcast where I dive deep into the stories behind the rising bands shaping the scene. Before we get started, hit the like button and leave a comment. It will really help the podcast reach more people and support the bands that I feature. On episode 171, I'm joined by London five-piece iC1s to discuss their brand new single Outta Reach and look ahead to their big headliner in Manchester in May and an in-betweener as well. Jesse, welcome back to the This Is The Music Meets podcast. How you doing, mate?
I'm good, mate. Thank you very much for inviting me back on. Good to see you again.
And you, it's it's been obviously a little while, but it's great to have you here, and looking forward to sort of getting stuck into this episode and sort of finding out everything that iC1s have been up to since you were on a few months back now. But for anyone maybe discovering iC1s for the first time, how would you describe the band and the sound that you've got going on?
Oof, I don't know. That's a tough question. I think it depends who you ask, really. You might get some unsavory answers if you ask certain people. Fortunately, they're not here. iC1s, I don't know. We're kind of Britpop, Brit rock. More recently, we've been described as post-punk, whatever that means. I even tried to look into what that meant, and it means everything, basically, which lines up with Alan McGee once called us post-everything, which to this day, I don't know if that's an insult or a compliment. Because when you say post-everything, you're talking about post-steps, you know, post
Yeah,
Mr.
no,
Bobby.
yeah, no one wants to be
You know,
associated with post
yeah,
steps for sure.
yeah, post-steps. So we're a bit of everything. Our influences go from, grunge to Britpop to soul, to punk. And I think you can hear all of it in there. And certainly with the newer stuff we've been working on as well, there's a bit more, there are more obvious traits of some of those things too, which maybe on the first album weren't there. That's us.
Yeah, sure. And when obviously was on the podcast last time, the link
Mm.
to that is going to be in the episode bio. And for those that are watching on YouTube, it's going to be up in the corner somewhere around about now, hopefully, if I remember to do it correctly. But you were just about to go and support the
Mm.
Inspiral Carpets on a run of dates. How were those shows for you?
Amazing. I think I'd forgotten kind of what it was like to go and play with big bands like that. Because we've obviously just come back. We've done a few of our own shows at a few venues, but yeah, completely forgotten like the scale of those types of shows. So, on the nights that we played with them, the venues were sold out, 800 people there to see the support band. And I had forgotten about that until I walked on stage and I was like, oh shit, okay. I forgot, but here we are,
Yeah.
So it was great, really, really great for us as a band to kind of get back on those types of stages, but also just to hang out with a proper band, who've been and done it, who we can look up to, and watching their set every night. They're schooling us, showing us what's what, how to do it. It was an amazing experience. We got loads of new fans out of it. We sold loads of copies of the album, which is really, really great. So yeah, we're really grateful that they let us play.
Yeah. Do you have to prepare differently as a band? Like you were saying there, maybe a little bit surprised in terms of like the number of people that were there to see a support band, which I
Mhm.
think is absolutely vital that people get down and see the supports because you never know, you might
Yeah.
find someone obviously that you like off the back of it. But
Mm.
as I say, do you have to prepare differently? Like apart from the obvious, obviously you're going to be on stage for like slightly less because it's a support slot. But as a
Mm.
band, do you prepare like differently to doing that in comparison to sort of like like one of the headline shows that obviously you've done in the past?
To be honest with you, as a band, we're terrible at preparing for anything. So it doesn't really make a difference whether or not it's our own headline show or it's a support show. We've, prepared poorly for that, at least by my estimation anyway, because, I'd love to be in the studio every single night, making sure the set is perfect, making sure the changeover between songs is perfect, making sure, each band member engages with the crowd, and all the things that, if you spend enough time on Instagram as a band, there's 1,000 videos telling you what you should be doing, right? How to play a show. Usually from people who have never played shows, but whatever.
That's an interesting one. That.
It is, isn't it? I'm like, who is this guy? He doesn't look like he's in a band. Anyway, we don't do a great deal of that. To be honest with you, I think even for our headline show at Dingwalls for the album launch, I think we only rehearsed a couple of times. I was sick the week before, so I know I didn't miss the show. We just try and squeeze in a rehearsal and then go and do it. And I think, our kind of band and the genre that we kind of thrive on that energy on stage anyway. That's where we do what we do. So to some degree, although there's, obvious reasons why you would rehearse and every band should rehearse, for us, we've always just been able to go up and do it and get by, and generally, if anyone's feedback is to be trusted, are good at doing that. That's kind of how we prepare, is by not preparing.
Brilliant, proper like punk rock vibes, really, in some aspects.
But maybe just lazy and unprofessional, right? But yeah, we'll call it punk rock. We'll call it punk.
Just as long as it's not post-punk, that's what we'll.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, so it's not post steps. Yeah. Yeah, we get together, we do our dance routines.
I can really see Dan in particular being, down for that.
Oh yeah, he's huge pop fan, Dan. I mean, to be honest with you, back in the day when we were on tour, we would always in the back of the bus just be singing Backstreet Boys and doing, we'd just be blind drunk. The door would open at a petrol garage. If anyone could see in the van, there'd just be 5, reprobates prancing around to Backstreet Boys.
You can't beat a bit of pop cheese, though, right? Has to be done. So you've obviously got a brand new single coming out March the 27th. It's called Outta Reach. It's absolutely fantastic. You boys have very kindly let me have a listen of it. Blew me away the minute that I heard it. What's the story then behind the song, and sort of like how did the sort of idea of the song come about?
I'll be honest with you. So today we've actually got the new mixes back for another song that we recorded the day after with the producer. So I've actually forgotten what Outta Reach sounds like, because all I've done today is listen to the mixes for the new one. But I can tell you that you're right, it is a good song. I agree, from what I can remember of it. But I mean, the song came kind of around the same time we were recording the album, or just before we were recording the first album. So I'd written a whole bunch of music and sent it to Dan. And it ties in with the whole kind of story around Soul on Trial and how that ended up on the first album. It was new music, whereas the rest of the album was old. Out of Reach was in that body of music that I sent to Dan. And again, it was one of them songs that he turned around just super fast, and it just didn't really need any alterations or changes. It was just there, and we knew it was there. So then we put it forward to the rest of the band and said, look, we really believe in this song. We think it's great. We think we can make it sound huge and kind of sound a little bit more progressive compared to some of the other stuff we've done. And the boys, bought into it. So we decided to lead with it as the first kind of post-album song. That's kind of how it came about. It was just knocking around, really.
And you mentioned, obviously, you just mentioned that you've just had the mixes back for another song today. Was that without telling anyone what that song necessarily was, but was it always going to be Outta Reach as like the first single and sort of giving everybody a bit of a taster? I am jumping the gun a little bit here because I know you've got another album coming on the way, but was it always going to be Outta Reach, or did you maybe consider the song that you just kind of mentioned there as being, getting all the mixes back today?
Well, to be honest with you, again, it's a case of not really being especially prepared, right? It just kind of happened. It was the song that surfaced to the top of all of the songs, and became that song really without any intentionality. It was more just, this song sounds great, let's go record it. But we wouldn't be in iC1s if we didn't say that we think that the next 12 songs on the album are all leading singles, right? We've known each other long enough now for you to know that that's part of our gig, right? But we do believe that, and if Dan was here now, he'd be nodding along for sure, because I know he believes in this next album. So I think we could have picked really any of the songs, but it just happened to be kind of this one came first. Musically, it might be one of the more easier ones. So maybe there's a degree of laziness there as well.
There is a theme here.
There's a theme. Lazy. Yeah, that's it really. So yeah, it's one of what I think 12 really strong tracks on this new record, which we're super excited about.
Yeah, and I know obviously you just mentioned in there, like, sonically how Out of Reach, sort of the direction that you're going in is that sort of, I guess, for people clearly that by the time this podcast comes out, they wouldn't have heard the song, maybe part of like a little clip here and there on your Instagram pages. But was that always like a conscious effort to sort of sound a little bit like what you did there? Sorry, I'm pointing at the album behind me. On What Took You So Long. Was that always a conscious decision to sound like that, or did you ever think about, when you were sort of writing the guitar parts there, was there any other sort of conscious decision to go, yeah, do you know what, I want it to sound like that album, or I want it to sound, in a completely different direction, or did that just sort of come out, like naturally, I guess?
Well, I think like musically, when I was writing the songs, I didn't have any idea that they would be iC1 songs necessarily. I'd written a few, had sent them to Dan. Dan had written some lyrics, but they were sounding slightly different. And that's what happens if you write in isolation, as I was at the time. It was just me. So I'd had no one to bounce the ideas off but me. So then you end up with a body of work that kind of just sounds quite like you, right? Because there's no other interference. And because I wasn't writing for iC1s, it didn't necessarily carry any of the resemblance of the iC1s album, which at that point, of course, we hadn't even recorded, right? So it was kind of, it didn't, I guess what I'm saying is it didn't interfere with it at all. Sonically, I think, we owe that to the producer, Smithy, who did the first album. But I think when he hears something as a producer, he kind of knows in which direction it should go, based on the principles of what it is. So he can hear if it's like in Outta Reach, has got like a real rhythmic kind of drive to it. He can hear that. And I think that sonically he pushes that kind of sound so that you end up with something. But he knows we want to go big. He knows we want wall sound guitars. Smithy is a guy we've known for 16 years or more. We knew him when he got his first studio. He was in a band called 12 Dirty Bullets, and me and him were enemies for a while because they were touring, we were touring, and we were kind of, he was the guitarist in the band, I was the guitarist in my band. We were kind of, we were enemies. But we're really good friends now, and I'm grateful for it because he's great to work with. So I think we owe some of that, to answer your question. Sorry, it's been a very long answer, but we owe some of that to him. Yeah, for pushing it in that direction and seeing actually what the songs can sound like. And based on the mix, this is the first mix he sent back today of the next one, and it already sounds like it's mixed and mastered and done, so it's already sounding colossal. I don't know how we can get it any bigger than that,
Yeah. And I guess as well there, then what you're saying as well is that you boys must have, when you're in the studio, when you're probably, well, maybe not rehearsing actually from what you've just been saying before, Jesse, but but you obviously must have an idea of what you want it to sound like when you're first, getting the sort of like the initial idea together. And it sounds like there that Smithy obviously then just sort of makes those, ideas, truly come to life.
Or in another way, he polishes the turd, Mark. I hear what you're trying to say. I hear you.
They were your words, that not mine.
Yeah. No, again, it's not necessarily what anyone wants to hear a band say, but I don't know how much of that is spoken about and agreed in this band. I think we understand kind of what we do, what we're capable of. And that is kind of just loud rock and roll music that has pop sensibilities, that resonates with people, that's a bit anthemic. And as long as what we're writing sounds like that, I think that's it. We're not one of those bands that are going to sit down and pontificate with notepads about, what the next album needs to sound like, and we need to. We don't work like that. Do you know what I mean? It's more like, right, let's go in the studio occasionally, and let's get some songs. Let's record those songs. Let's put them out because people like them. Sort of antithesis of that kind of pretentious, studious, academic style approach to being in a band like Radiohead. You know what I mean? I love Radiohead. I do love it. I do. But, do you know what I mean? But it doesn't work like that for us. It's quite cut and dry. It's like this sounds good. Let's go do it.
No, I think that's the best way, and I can. Funny enough, you saying Radiohead there, I can't remember the exact quote, but I can remember there was a documentary to do about Oasis, the Definitely Maybe album. I think it was like 10 years in the making of it, and there's actually something that Manny says, God bless his soul, about Radiohead, and getting the notepads out and all of that, and that's just resonating there with me. Whereas big straight up out and out rock and roll, which is in my view the best way to do it. But is there kind of like maybe a lyric or maybe like a moment in the song that sort of like really hammers home what you're trying to get across in the song?
Well, I mean, I think what Dan's done lyrically and melodically with the lyrics for all of the new stuff is his best work. He agrees with that. I mean, Dan is his biggest fan anyway, right? Hello, mate. I agree with him, and I don't think there is anything on what we're working on now and what we've done for this new album that is weak at all. I really like the sentiment of the song. I'm not going to speak too much on his behalf, but I'll speak in terms of my interpretation of the song. I think the notion of feeling that something is just out of your reach and you can't get there is something that everybody can kind of relate to. But so I think lyrically, just everything. I think he's just set the scene really, really well. I think he's really playful with the song itself. It's sort of hopeful and ambitious, but at the same time, it's frustrated. And I think that's the mood that people are in. Sometimes with certain things, you want something, you can't reach it, but you still keep going and you're trying to get it. I mean, if he was here now, I'd be like, that's not even what the song's about, Jess. What are you talking about? But that's what it means to me, and that's the power of music, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to seeing Dan's comments when we clip this one.
It's going to be all over Instagram, and you're like, shut up, Jess.
What are you talking about? You got it completely wrong. Obviously, the Outta Reach comes with a music video as well. Just sort of tell us a little bit about the concept behind it and sort of like the idea, that obviously that you came up with on that one.
So we didn't have a lot of time and we didn't have a lot of budget because albums are expensive, right? So we're like, how do we do this relatively cheap with almost no time? Fortunate enough to know somebody who, I've actually known for a very long time, really creative guy. His name's Eldolf. That's not his real name. I don't know if I can say his real name, so I'm going to go with that.
He's a man of mystery.
He's a man of mystery, old Eldolf So. There we go, Eldolf So. He's just a really creative guy. If he's not shooting a music video, he's sitting in his house building some strange thing. He's just one of them guys who just makes stuff all the time.
Right.
But he's a hero, and he's just such a brilliant guy. So I went to him and said, look, we're short on money, short on time. Let's do something. And me and him just kind of came up with that idea because he had access to the venue where we shot it. And on the night, we were just like, right, we'll put Dan out in the audience. We will kind of scan around the stage empty, and then we'll go out to Dan, and then we'll bring Dan on stage. And by the time he gets back, the band are there, and then the song kicks off and we go. We wanted it to be candid. We wanted it to be kind of like a live show, but a bit more intimate. So we set Dan up in the middle rather than have it kind of straight on. And then, he just weaved between us, and he had someone come in and do the lights, and just, with no great plan. He was like, do you want me to choreograph them? I was like, no, just smash them on whenever you think it kind of works with the song. So it was all kind of ad lib, ad hoc. but it's come out pretty well. And we're really, really pleased with it. I think in this day and age as well, I think a lot of bands online, how they're doing videos is kind of following the trend of just sitting in their bedroom and having a POV thing caption pop up that says whatever. And I'm all for that. It's a bit too trendy for me, and I'm a bit more old school. I still want to do stuff that's artistic, So we try to walk a line between not full scale Backstreet Boys music video, but also not just 5 middle-aged men sitting in a bedroom somewhere. We needed to walk the right line, and I think we did that.
No, obviously I've been fortunate enough to see the video, and it is brilliant. I have to say, I liked all the sort of the creativity. Obviously, you just mentioned all the lighting on it as well that's been done. And I think one of the things that I sort of liked about it as well was that obviously you just mentioned there that Dan's in the middle of when he comes back up onto the stage, he's in the middle of you, but it kind of gives you as well a little bit of a feeling of what it would be like to see iC1s live. Obviously, I know this type of thing. Whereas sort of picking up on your point there that you were just saying, about some people just do music videos, they're doing a dance, they're in there, in the bedroom, or they're trying to do acting. Whereas again, to say what you said there about the old school type of thing, I actually found the video really refreshing because it was, here are 5 people in a band, this is what we do, check it out, rather than it's not being disrespectful to other people, but almost like trying to be, I guess, like following a trend, or like what you were just saying before.
Yeah, and we've never done that. We've always done whatever we wanted to do, and at certain times that might not have been the right thing. When we were first around, we were often kind of compared to Oasis and stuff, and at the time I remember thinking, maybe we need to shift the direction a little bit, into something that's a bit more on trend, right? I'm glad we didn't, because what we've done is important to us now. But yeah, I think with social media, there's a tendency for bands to just follow what the other bands are doing, and then it just becomes a sea of the same things, and it's difficult to stand out in that way if you want to, right? And there's not necessarily an artistic merit in that, and if that's important, which it is, to me, I know it is to the other boys, then that gets lost. And also, I mean, there's obviously a philosophical conversation about what the purpose of entertainers are, but if we're entertaining people, we need to entertain them. It needs to be something that people want to watch and something they want to see. And so far, the feedback we've got, and I thank you for yours, has been exactly the same. It's been like, this is a really cool video. That's awesome. How did you do that? And we did it all in one take, so there's no cuts on that. It just runs. I think we did 5 takes of it. I mean, fortunately, my eye has healed now, but I actually gave myself a black eye doing that video. I took the guitar off when all the lights went off at the end of one of the takes. I took the guitar off, smashed it over my own head. Very rock and roll. I don't really drink, smoke, take drugs and do what I used to do anymore. So now I just get my kicks by smashing my own guitar over my own head.
Whatever floats your boat, man.
Yeah, listen, man, I've just got to keep it going. But I gave myself a black eye, a really bad one. But it's just about healed. There's a little scar up here now, but it was worth it.
Yeah, trooper, proper trooper.
Yeah, proper rock and roll, proper post steps.
And obviously just mentioned there, kind of like a sort of live environment type of thing there on the video, which takes us on very nicely to the next question, because you've got a massive headline show at the Deaf Institute in Manchester on the 2nd of May with Scruff of the Neck Records. How excited are you to be playing such an iconic venue?
Really good. I'm really, really excited about it. It's been such a long time since we played in Manchester. I think the last time we played there would have been 2013, 2014, just before we split up. It always got a little bit reckless in Manchester, always. And by always, I mean always. I can't think of, to put it this way, I've never been sober in Manchester. So I'm looking forward to seeing the city for the first time. But yeah, so I mean, it's cool. And someone actually sent me a video of Clint from Inspirals talking about Deaf Institute, and he goes in and does a whole tour of the place. And I've not actually really, seen that much about it. But it does look super cool. So we're really looking forward to it. We've got we just announced Tracemaker, who I know you know,
Yes.
are going to be the main support, which will be great. So yeah, really looking forward to it, and we're going to get to try out some of these new album songs as well for the first time on an unsuspecting audience. Yeah.
Well,
They'll be walking out halfway. Yeah.
I'm sure they won't be, and obviously you just mentioned Tracemaker there. You obviously did a sort of a social media sort of post to essentially ask bands to sort of come
Mm.
down and be on the bill for the evening.
Mhm.
Have you got? They are actually. Before I get on to the next question, they're going to be playing the Indie Social next month as well.
Mm.
So anyone checking that out, watching the podcast, come and check them out as well in April. So it's kind of like, how is the rest of the lineup looking? Have you worked out yet? With a couple of months to go, who else is going to come and support you?
I'll be honest with you, and I hope none of those bands are watching right now. I haven't listened to any of those yet. There's about 300 of them on there. I haven't really listened to them. I know Ben has,
Yes.
but I've been busy, Mark. All right, I've been busy. We've got things on.
Well, writing the new album.
Exactly. Come on, guys. No, I think we need to get around to it, and then we'll invite one of them on to open the show up. I think it would be cool to get a band that's maybe even never played a show before, and give because Dan was saying there's a couple of them on there and they're like 15, and they're desperate to come and play the show, and that could be a big leg up for them. A really nice thing to do. So yeah, we just need to sit down and have a proper think about it, have a listen, and pick one, which I'm sure we'll do in the next couple of weeks.
Cool. So yeah, keep your eye on your inboxes if you asked before
Yeah.
on that, because there's going to be some movement soon. I've got to ask as well. You obviously got James Buckley involved in a little bit of the promo for the gig. Did you let him just freestyle on that, or was it all sort of tightly planned? Because was it Cameo? I think is the site, isn't it, that he uses
Yeah,
for that? So
yeah.
yeah, where did the idea come from?
Well, funny backstory. Years ago, again before we split up, we released "Beautiful Ugly" as a single. So there's an old version of "Beautiful Ugly" on YouTube, and then there's obviously the version that we re-recorded for the album in 2025. He was supposed to be in the "Beautiful Ugly" video, or he was put forward as an option to be in the video at that time. So this is 2013, so it would have been not that long after In Between Us. Our manager at the time didn't want us to do that. So instead, in the video, you've got me and Dan, which is fine. We were kind of in between us, I guess, at that time. So yeah, so there's history there from our point of view that he was kind of going to be in our video and then wasn't. I don't even know if he knows about that. Probably can't remember even if he did.
No.
But yeah, when we reached out to him, I was kind of putting the message together, and I was like, well, what do you say to someone like that? You can't really tell him to be James Buckley or to be Jay from In Between Us. He's just going to do what he's going to do, right? So it's just like, look, we're playing this show, say something about it. If you want to go after us a little bit, go for it. That was it. Yeah, and what he sent over was great, and people think it's really funny. I mean, I did wonder if some of the younger crowd would even know who he was. But a lot of people actually thought it was me, because we've got very similar shaped heads, and I used to have hair a bit like that as well.
Is that a compliment? I don't know.
I mean, for him,
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, hopefully they do know. The younger crowd do know he is, because often In Between Us, what a show that still is. Really, I still love watching it now.
You know what? If a clip comes up, I can't scroll past it. I never do. I watch it, and then I'll end up going and watching a couple of episodes. It sort of feels to me like it was one of the last shows where you could get away with pretty much anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to be the old guy who's kind of like, oh, it's not as good as it used to be. Which to some degree I am, but I don't want to be that guy. Certainly not publicly. But it does feel a bit like that every time I see it. He's sort of mourning for for a kind of a time when comedy was a bit freer.
Yeah, definitely.
And you could say things that you just wouldn't get away with now.
No, yeah, they'd be cancelled in an afternoon, I think, if that was to become out now.
Yeah, definitely.
Obviously, we've kind of like touched on a little bit earlier on that you've been in the studio working away on album number two. I'm assuming that Outta Reach is obviously going to be in the set at the Deaf Institute. You sort of touched on it a little bit that there's going to be some other songs that are going to be on the album that are going to be included in the set. Or you're going to be, predominantly relying on songs, obviously from the debut album. What took you so long?
I think we're going to mix in a few of the new ones. It's a headline set, so I think we'll probably play 12, 13, 14 songs or whatever. So, maybe 4 or 5 of them will be from the new album, and then the rest will be from, what took you so long. The thing is with songs like Whack Jack is it's illegal not to play them. You can't, if we went and we didn't play Whack Jack, I think, some guy messaged us the other day and said he's flying over from Arizona to come and see us. And it's like, okay, we'll just play Whack Jack 12 times then, cool. To justify that trip. I think people would be confused if we didn't play that. So that's always going to be in the set, right? But I think it's an opportunity post that first album to kind of play with the set a little bit and see, maybe we don't want to start with the song we always start with. Maybe we don't want to finish with the song we always finish with, and try and sort of carve out maybe a new sort of pathway in terms of what we do live. In the hope that, we're working on some bits, but there's some stuff potentially lined up for the autumn, which would, be really quite significant for us. So we better get into the studio and actually rehearse this set. Stop being lazy. Yeah.
Are you as a band, obviously, a lot of people, clearly I do, but other people as well know the backstory in terms of, and you've mentioned it here, that, obviously together for a while and then split up, and obviously then you came back sort of 2024 for that one-off show, and then obviously back sort of like properly, I guess, so to speak, like last year with the album. Are you, obviously, across that time, you've predominantly been playing the majority of the songs in your sets have been the same. So are you quite looking forward and like excited, I suppose, that you're actually going to have like four or so songs that are new, and does that sort of like keep it refreshing and keep the band, I guess, like moving forward into like a new like era type of thing?
Yeah, very much that from my point of view. I think it's always a weird one with bands when they play new music that the audience hasn't heard, because unless you're a real, muso and an enthusiast for live music, most people want to go to gigs to hear the songs they know, right? I've even had it with bands that I love, and they're like, "We're going to play a new one," and I'm like, well, I'll nip off to the loo then. Do you know what I mean? Let me know when you're finished, and you're gonna play, the ones that I'm here for. So I think that you have to kind of balance it so that you're getting what you want out of it, as because the primary function of being a musician is doing that because you love it, right? But then also making sure the crowd don't nod off because they don't know the songs necessarily. Apart from the select few people like yourself who will go to a show and say, "Do you know what? I want to check out new bands. I want to hear new music. That's what I'm here for."
Yeah.
So I think you're always having to walk the line to get the balance right.
Yeah. It's quite funny actually, because I'm sort of just thinking back to sort of other shows where obviously you get new songs and obviously when bands put out albums, but I actually preferred not knowing the songs if it was like that album tour sort of cycle, not having the album, so being able to hear the songs live first, and then having that opportunity then to hear what it'd be like in the studio, and then however many months later, I'll be back on tour again, gonna get myself out there and go and see it. So yeah, quite an interesting sort of different approaches, I suppose.
I think there's just different types of music fans, isn't there? Really, I would say you're probably in, and I would probably include myself in the same group, in the minority of people who go to see bands they've never seen before and intentionally checking out new music in its rawest form for the love of it. But it's not a slight on either group, but then there's another group of people who want to go and hear the songs that they love. And Whack Jack is one of those songs. So it's again, to my point, it's about striking the balance between those two groups, making sure that you're kind of appeasing everybody who's come to see you.
Yeah, sure, definitely. Jesse, on every This Is the Music Meets podcast, I like to finish with a quick fire round. So the first question in this section is, if Outta Reach had to be described using just 3 words, what would they be?
Bloody brilliant. I appreciate that's actually 2 words because there's three. There's 3 words in total, but yeah.
We'll
Can we
go.
accept that answer? Yeah.
I'll accept the answer. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool. I like
Yeah.
that. And who in the band is most like Cartwright, even, and why?
I would say Jacob, the bass player, because he just speaks his mind, and in that he says some of the most outlandish things which you just know are not true, and he may believe them to be true, just like Jake Cartwright. But whenever Jake announces these things, he's very quickly told that what he said is absolute nonsense. So there's a similarity there for sure. Yeah, Jacob, the bass player.
I wonder if he'll get in the comments as well about that and to try and
Yeah,
deny
yeah,
it.
probably. Yeah.
And for you, what is the most overplayed indie anthem ever?
Wow. Okay. It's a Chelsea Dagger for
Yeah,
Tellys, because
Tellys, yeah.
obviously the football crowd picked it up as well, didn't they?
Yeah, they did, yeah.
So maybe I've paraphrased your question. That's an irritating song to me, which is the same thing, right? Overplayed is irritating. Um, Chelsea Dagger, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, loving that.
Or
Yeah.
anything by Kasabian, who I can't stand.
Really? Wow, I'm
Yeah,
surprised.
I know. Everyone says this. I can't stand them. I've never liked them, and I can't. I've actively tried. Right, I'm gonna take the day off. I'm gonna sit down and listen to Kasabian today. Honestly, I get 3 seconds in, and I'm like, no, I'd rather go back to work. I just can't do it. Sorry if any of them happen to be watching this. Obviously, Serge is incredibly cool.
Yeah, it's funny because I loved them from
Mm,
the beginning, and then probably I was still interested. I'm sort of not going to get into what happened with Tom and all that. Of probably the
mm,
right decision to let him go,
mm,
but I think from that point onwards, I now no longer can get into them just because I don't.
mm,
Not sure if or not because it's not feels the same, but I'm not sure that the quality of the songs that were being done before are quite as good. I think there was something about Tom that sort of brought those
mm,
songs to life in my view. But obviously, as I say, yeah,
mm,
what happened obviously is not right, and they probably did make the
mm,
right decision. But yeah, hey,
mm, mm.
that's probably not a story for this podcast to be
No,
fair.
I feel less bad about slagging them off now because I've forgotten about that. So yeah, I stand by my statement.
There you go. Okay. So I think I already know the answer to this next. Who the band you don't want to support in the future. But if iC1s could support any band in the world, uh, active or not active, who would it be?
Wow, that is such a difficult question. That's up there with all of the other difficult questions. Um, I mean, everyone knows. I don't even have to. I don't have to say it. Anybody who's our age or a bit younger, who's in a guitar band, who's British, we all know where we want to go. We all know who we'd love to play with. Putting them to one side, um, I'd love to watch iC1s. I
Yeah.
really would. So yeah, I would say iC1s supporting iC1s, and then I'd get to watch us play, which I've never been able to do. Which might be the most arrogant answer in the world. Scrap that answer. Cut that out.
Have
We
to get
won't.
like a little like projector or something. Have you been beam you up on the stage type of thing?
Yeah. Once upon a time, actually, we did a sound check at what was the Barfly, and I had a 30-foot guitar lead. And during the sound check, I jumped off the stage and walked it back in a venue. And I was obviously doing the sound check, and I was watching the band. I was like, fucking hell, we are really good, man. You know, we are great. That was just me and over at the time. But yeah, scrap the iC1s support and iC1s bit from the pod. We'll go with Oasis.
Did you manage to get to any of the shows last year?
Me and Dan went to the first one in Wembley. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, it was as biblical as Liam said it was. Yeah, it was such a great moment. Did you go to any of them?
I did, yes. I went
Yeah,
to what I can't remember what show it was, whatever number it was at Wembley. Went to one of the Wembley ones, and then the last UK show at Wembley as well. Yeah,
wow, yeah,
just incredible.
it was great, man. It's such a yeah. I mean, putting to one side that obviously they're a fantastic band, and sonically it sounded great, and the production was brilliant. Even the video and the lights,
Mm.
everything was just phenomenal, right? And even putting to one side the fact that you're getting to do karaoke with 90,000 people, for some of the best songs that have ever been written, just the place that it takes you back to
Mhm.
was magical. That was magical for me to feel that same kind of the songs resonated with me in the same way they did when I was growing up in the 90s, and took me back to that place. And I
Yeah,
think that's the beauty of music. It can channel a direct pathway to somewhere that you've not been able to go to in a long time, you
yeah,
know. And I think that being there reminded me of some of that. Life felt different in that way that only your youth can afford you. I'm getting too poetic now. Cut that out. But yeah, and that was magical. It really was, man.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was. It was. Yeah,
Mm.
great shows, and
Mm.
I don't think they're going to be doing anything this year, but maybe
Mm.
next year we'll see. Maybe they need a year away from each other again.
Need some time off, right? I mean, I think Dan had a cry, and he's not here to defend himself either, which I'm
In the
enjoying.
comments, Dan. In the comments, let's find out.
I think, yeah, master plan. Dan, did you cry or did you not?
Yeah, that's it. We'll ask him.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously, we're not too far away from festival season. I don't know
Mm.
whether or not if iC1s have got any plans to try and get onto any festival this year.
Mm.
But if you could, or
Mm.
if you would, were looking, what would be, the number one festival that would be on your list to go and play at this year?
I mean, we played Isle of Wight years ago, which was really cool. We played a lot of, the other festivals like Strawberry Fields and all those things as well. I always quite like the smaller ones, just purely because I can't be asked to walk from one side of a festival to the other. I remember driving around on the buggies at Isle of Wight, and even then I was like, Jesus, this is taking ages. So I'll probably go for a smaller one. That said, Glastonbury is obviously the dream, right?
Mhm.
Everyone wants to play Glastonbury, so I'll have to give that as my answer, I think.
Yeah, yeah, I can only echo what you said there about Isle of Wight. I didn't realise how big the site was. To be fair, when I
Mm.
went there a couple of years ago, but yeah,
Mm.
that was a great festival.
And also,
Great experience again.
it's one of them ones where, because it's an island, you're trapped, you know?
Well,
If
this is it.
you ever want to, I was going to say, well, if you ever want to go home from somewhere, it's just like, okay, well, I've got to go get the train or whatever. But there you've got to get a fucking boat. Oh, God.
It is,
Yeah.
yeah, it
Yeah.
is. It is a little bit more of an effort, and I think that's what
Mm.
surprised me how big it was. Because as you say, obviously, it is an island. I didn't really, even though I was used to holiday there pretty much every year as a kid. Yeah,
Mm.
that did blow my mind. To
Mm.
be fair, but finally, what else can we expect from iC1s? We obviously know we've got the new single coming out next week.
Mm.
Obviously, the Deaf Institute gig as well. What I know you've said that the band are generally lazy and you probably haven't got a plan as such as what this year might look like, and you're just going to go with the flow. But what
Mm.
is there a plan, and what do you see,
Mm.
2026 looking like?
So Out of Reach is out next week. There's also another single that's going to come out before the Manchester show. Then we've got Manchester. Then we go in the summer to do the album. Um, there's also in the works some shows around the UK. I won't say where for now because they're all sort of up in the air, but there's a few there. There's potentially a support tour in the autumn, which will be the event of the year for us, really, in support of the album. which will be out at the beginning of next year. And then I can't say too much about this now because we've not announced it, but we have booked the album launch show for next year, and it's bigger than the last one. So that's obviously, something that we're working towards as part of that plan, is to go bigger and better for the next album launch. So yeah, we've got to sit on that for a little bit, but that news will come out soon. We're really excited to announce it because it's going to be, the biggest thing we've ever done. So yeah,
sounds exciting. Sounds very exciting.
So we are lazy, but we're getting there slowly.
You're getting there finally with some organisation, and as I say, it sounds really exciting, and hopefully as well that I'll be able to get down and see you at a couple of those shows that you've just
always on the guest list, Mark. Always, you just let me know, sir.
Very, very, very kind of you, Jesse. But that does bring us to the end of episode 171 of the This Is The Music Meets podcast. Thanks so much for coming on and giving us an update on everything that's been going on with iC1s since you were on last. I've really, really enjoyed it. And as I say, thanks again for coming on and joining me.
Mate, thank you so much. Always a good time on your pod.
And before I do forget as well, sorry, I should just reiterate, the new single, Outta Reach, is released on Friday the 27th of March. The pre-save link is going to be in the episode bio, along as well with that ticket link, the all-important ticket link to the Deaf Institute show as well on May the 2nd up in Manchester, which, wish you best of luck for the single when it comes out. And also as well that gig as well, because I'm sure that's going to be a monumental night in Manchester, and hopefully you'll remember this time what the city looks like.
No promises.
And to everyone listening, thank you for tuning in to the latest This Is The Music Meets podcast. If you're new around here, please make sure you subscribe so you never miss out on any brand new episodes. And if you're enjoying the podcast, I'd love to hear from you. So please hit the like button and leave a comment below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon for another This Is The Music Meets podcast. And remember, the future is bright, the future is indie.